right, Steiny Guru with you, 95.7 The Game. And I'm looking at ESPN. I heard there's a good story out there on the Warriors. Let me see. Oh, Kendra Andrews. It just dropped on ESPN. And the story's entitled, "The Partnership That Must Keep Thriving for the Warriors' playoff hopes." And it's a story about how Draymond Green has been mentoring Jonathan Kuminga. And Kuminga said, Draymond watching the games at home. This is while Draymond was suspended. Draymond watching the games at home. It was him watching the film pretty much, and it actually helped me understand who I am. And I wanted to pick everything up he knows. And so Draymond Green, according to this story, is really impacting Kuminga. I'm looking quickly because it just dropped.
Gotcha.
But it looks like most of the quotes are from Kuminga about Draymond Green.
Well, I'll say this. When I hear that, to Miss Andrews, I can't wait to read it, Steiny, but I'll say this. That's a hell of a 180 from what we heard last year when Dre admitted openly that, he wasn't there for the youngsters, and that was including Jonathan Kuminga. And as a diehard, lifelong Warrior fan like myself, I couldn't process that because I thought Draymond, that was his job, is to, take guys under his wing. But we've seen a breakout year from Jonathan Kuminga. We also seen him be boisterous in regard to his playing time, and he's taken off. And if he says that Draymond Green now is a big part of that, I would sound like a hater if I'm like, well, that sounds different than last year. But guess what it is? Because Jonathan Kuminga was just an afterthought on the bench against the Lakers in the most important series, if you agree with it or not. So I'm not going to hate and try to dispute what Jonathan Kuminga has shared about his big brother, and that's Draymond Green, because he's having a hell of a year. Kuminga, they don't win that game Saturday without him. And whatever they're going to do, noise, loud noise, quiet, this upcoming play-in and playoffs, Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a big part of it. So kudos to Draymond for doing what he said he didn't do last year, Steiny, and that was lead the youngsters.
I mean, look, this gets back to your greatest strengths, your biggest weakness. Yes, do you want Draymond Green to be a mentor? Yeah, of course. Guy's one of the smartest defensive players in the league. There's no doubt about it. When he's locked in, everybody says, this guy's a genius when it comes to defensive basketball. The problem is half the examples he sets aren't good ones, or don't help the team. Maybe not half, but the bottom line is, if you can get the good Draymond, that's a different guy than the whole Draymond. I think that's just the way I look at it. Like he's a positive. He's always been a positive, but there's stuff that he does that detracts from his positivity. And we've seen more and more of that the older he's gotten, the last 2 years. But there's 16 games to go. And if Kuminga's saying that Draymond Green is helping him, that's all that's important right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And we'll see how long it lasts.
Because it's working right now.
Yeah, and it could last up until the third possession tonight when Jonathan Kuminga misses a defensive assignment.
And let me add this too, Steiny. I mean, we heard Kuminga talk about it, what life was like on the road. I mean, sometimes what I was hoping, the bonding was bigger than basketball on the court. It was, when you're on the road and there's no kids and there's no wives and no family, it's just you and the guys. And for guys to be in their room and not be with the OGs, that's why we asked Bob Myers and we asked Mike Dunleavy when we got to see him about the word connectivity. And right now the Warriors, I don't want to say have mastered that, but that thing has definitely improved. And for Kendra to write this article, Steiny, who can argue with what's going on that front with the Golden State Warriors right now? They seem like a connected group. Even when they were losing, though, they seemed like a connected group.
They didn't seem connected against the Bulls.
Right, but they
didn't seem connected against the Spurs.
Well, no, but that's just the tangible of what's the score they lost. They didn't play good. But I'm talking about, no fighting or infighting, that type of stuff. No Jordan. I mean, seriously, no Jordan Poole, Draymond. Guys might be out
so nobody's been knocked out this year.
Yeah, well, I'll give you that.
Good year for
and
the
then
Warriors.
Looney, if you still watch him, I still got my Looney cam. He's smiling but he's rooting on the guys. And I know people, Guru, that's probably, come on. But, some guys take demotions or less playing time differently.
Right, except the ones that you can demote and they won't be a problem. We saw it again Saturday. Moody and Looney. The two good soldiers.
Right, gotcha. Sarich.
But Moody didn't play on Saturday. Gary Payton II played just 6.5 minutes. And again, the thing that I'm interested to see with the Warriors, they have games coming up so fast right now.
This is going to be over quick, bud.
9 and 16 days. And, it'll be very interesting to see how Steve Kerr manages these last 16 games. You got to try to win as many as possible to see if you can get up to 8.
Yeah.
Can you get higher than that? I don't know. Do you want to? I mean, obviously, if you get to 6, I think you would kind of cash all your chips in and get there somehow to avoid the play-in. This is what Steve Kerr said about Saturday's urgency.
Yeah, I thought we were sharp, especially offensively. We did a great job taking care of the ball. Got a lot of good possessions, and it just was a matter of time before our defense kicked in. I mean, they had their way in the first half, so much better job in the second half, challenging shots and getting multiple stops in a row to try to generate some momentum.
That was Steve Kerr on the last 16 games. By the way, did it feel like a playoff game to you on Saturday, Goo?
Going in, it did.
Oh. Clay, how about you?
No offense to the crowd, but you couldn't really tell. I mean, I've been here during a finals game when I was 20 years old. I was very lucky to go with my dad in 2010. So didn't quite feel the same, but it was still a very important game, and I'm very happy with the turnout from our fans. It's cool to see how many Warrior fans show up.
Leave it to Clay to just take a little of the oomph out of it.
But he had 26, he brought them 9 of 15, 5 of 10 from 3.
And 35 mil coming down his way.
It ain't even about that. Right now, it's just about he is their secret weapon. It might detonate, it might not. But if it does, you are in a whole hell of a lot of trouble. And I'll say this, our own Evan, who was on pre and post Saturday, Steiny, I retweeted this tweet. It was after the game. And LeBron James, what can I say, Steiny? He's special. Sometimes when he's in his zone, unstoppable. But the reason I bring this tweet up is he said, Warriors won. I'm paraphrasing, but he wants no part of them in a win or lose situation. And that's the plan. And I feel that way. And Anthony Davis wasn't there from the second quarter on. But Steiny, that's just, and I guess you can't avoid the smoke, as they say in the streets. But the Warriors got this one, but Curry didn't score while Anthony Davis was in the middle. And, they only had a 1 point lead after the first quarter or two, the Lakers. But that changed everything, and that was a good change because AD wasn't there. But moving forward, if he's available, you do wonder if this is still a scary matchup for the Warriors.
So I'm on the YouTube chat, and I guess I didn't hear the end of Bonte and Joe's show. They were talking about LeBron and Steph. Is Curry versus LeBron the best player rivalry in the NBA today, or in NBA history? I guess there's a poll up on YouTube. You can jump in there if you want. Is Curry versus LeBron the best player rivalry in NBA history? I'm looking at 800 votes, and it's about 50-50, 52-48.
Damn, well, you think about how many times they met in the finals, but to me, it's Bird and Magic.
How about Russell and Chamberlain?
Okay, I wasn't here for that, but I'm not mad at that. And I ain't mad at the Curry LeBron. I mean, how many times have they met in the finals? It was a lot. And I'll just say this. To me, Steiny, Magic and Bird saved the NBA, but they didn't ask about that aspect or component of it. But to me, that's the East against West, and that's what LeBron and Curry were. But, man.
I mean, listen,
I ain't rebuking that. If that's what somebody wants to say, I get it.
Well, okay.
Yeah. No, explain that. Okay.
Bird and Magic saved the league. I mean, they saved the league, essentially.
They did. Yeah. But what if you could take that out of it?
Russell and Chamberlain were like two behemoths that played against each other all the time because one was playing in Boston and one was playing in Philly.
I'll say this to you.
This is the kind of thing where it's like,
there's no wrong answer.
What?
But Bird and Magic had smoke in college. To me, that's why they get the edge. And they both came in and weren't the 2021 quarterbacks that we see in the NFL flame out for right now. So to me, that component of it, that they were, they had smoke in college, both came in, got drafted to two of the most storied franchises in the league. And then that Lakers-Celtic was a video game. But Bron and Steph that's a real thing. And I got to tell you, partner, Warrior Dub Nation might come for me. That's why I don't want LeBron here in a Warrior uniform. Maybe I'll feel different if the Warriors somehow end the season on a sour note.
Do you think that Chamberlain-Russell, obviously the two best players, great rivalry, but Chamberlain never beat him in the finals. How much does that actually play into what you consider a rivalry?
I mean, but they played each other 9 times a year back then because there weren't as many teams. I mean, Chamberlain-Russell was... Listen, I guess Guru's right. There's no wrong answer. Me, I always take offense to everybody who always thinks what we're living through now is better than anything else. You know what I mean?
But if you take Magic and Bird as a collective, and this is where you can't go wrong, and what they are as basketball players and what they meant to the league, and you do that to LeBron and Steph Curry. One guy's revolutionized the game with his three-point shooting. He's got 4 rings. The other guy's got 4 rings, and he leads the league, the whole NBA. You know what I'm saying, Steiny? He's still balling at 40. That's heavy. You put that together, that's heavy. So I get it.
The other thing is, see, I don't mean to hate on the Warriors, but I mean, it's getting to the point where, yes, they won Saturday. And that's a nice win.
No doubt.
But they didn't have Anthony Davis for the last 3 quarters. And again, you got to go win the game, but that's where, to me, this team's still, and they got 16 games to prove it, but, they're going to have to start beating teams that are, here's the
Dallas is what you're saying.
Dallas just beat Denver.
Yeah.
Right? Dallas just beat Denver.
Hell of a game.
Well, the Warriors, they haven't beaten a Denver. They haven't beaten an Oklahoma City. They haven't beaten a Minnesota. And so one of the reasons that it's going to be difficult for the Warriors to catch those teams is they're going to have to start beating some of the better. They play Minnesota on Sunday.
Yeah.
They need to go to Minnesota and beat a good team, not just to rise up in the standings, but to also prove they can beat a good team if they have to. By making it past the play-in and into the postseason.
And they're 3 back of Dallas. If you got dreams of catching 4. Dallas and Phoenix, I got 3, 11.5, 8.5.
They lose the tiebreaker already to both.
And Sacramento as well. Yep. So the margin of error is not there. Now, if you want to say, okay, we're 9th, we're not 10th, I get that, and you're tied with the Lakers, but I hear you, Steiny. I think that will take care of itself. And I will say this, in any sport, you can't control who's in or out and who starts and goes out. But I can already hear you, and I'm ready for you. I got my Captain America shield. When Anthony Davis went out, there was more pressure on the Warriors to not have a colossal mishap and lose that Laker game. Like Evan said, if that 3 would have counted from LeBron, you just wonder how that game plays out. Bottom line is they didn't, Steiny. They didn't. But Curry to be able to penetrate and other Golden State Warriors and have action in that paint, that was everything because they weren't able to do that in the first quarter with AD.
Yeah, and
that's a big deal, but duh.
See, to me, the Warriors have not proven that they're over some kind of hump or they've got momentum that other teams don't have.
Do you think they're still in
9th place?
Right.
They're in 9th place in the West. They're coming off a week in which they lost to the Bulls. They lost to San Antonio. I get it. Curry wasn't there, but now I got to look at the next 9 or 10 games. The games are going to come fast. They got a 5-game road trip after these 3 games they have at home. Let's see if they can climb the standings. But up until this point, they haven't been able to. even though they've, I don't know, what are they, 18-7 or something now over the last 25, 17-8, something like that.
What's uncanny, Steiny, real quick, is of the top 10 teams in the West, their home record is just abysmal compared to the rest. Now, you could say, Goo, that doesn't mean anything. It starts tonight, but good God, you have to take it. And just last year, this was their I mean, you come to Chase, you were going to get slapped up.
Well, what that means to me is they can't win games at home just by effort. They have to play with effort, and they got to play well. Like over the course of the last 10 years, all they'd have to do is show up and be conscientious, and they were going to win 30+ games at home. Like, that's not who this team is anymore. They've got to play harder on balance more than they've had in the past to win games because they have less room for error. They just do. They're a ninth seed right now. They're 4 games over 500. And listen, I came in here all last week and tried to be positive about what these young guys have been doing because I do think it's important. Mm-hmm. And I do think that they can move forward with some of these young guys and be better next year. I was telling Sal, nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wanted to hear it last week. Hey, you know what? Why don't we take stock in how much Kuminga's gotten better in year 3? They talk about the year 3 jump. Has he taken it? Oh, yes, he's absolutely taken it. You got a guy, Pajemski, 19th pick in the draft. He's in the rotation. You got Trace Jackson-Davis, who's now starting. They got 2 guys in their starting lineup right now who are 21 and 23 or 24 respectively, which they've not had since the start of the dynasty. And like, to me, that's important. That's all good. But nobody really wanted to talk about it last week.
That's interesting.
Oh, we lost to Dallas. That's all that mattered. We lost to Dallas. Well, the young guys kept you in that game. Like, this is what I mean about, to me, a little bit of the baby steps you got to take. And if you're going to cut the rotation down to 8 or 9 guys, then guys are going to have to be more effective with less playing time, and let's see how that goes. But you gotta do more than beat the Lakers without Anthony Davis for me to start once again saying, well, they could make a run. All right, they could make a run these last 16 games and still have to play in a play-in game. Like, they could maybe go 11-5, and they're still going to have to play a playoff game, a play-in game at some point.
I love the fact that you said your conversation with Sal ended with you saying nobody wanted to hear it. And I'm bad at analogies, but I'm going to try one. So, fan is short for fanatic, and Dub Nation's married to Steph Curry, Steiny. And before you get married, you have a wedding, and the groom has a best man. And right now, that best man is somebody that's been with you, somebody that means a lot, and somebody you go back with most of the time, right? And that's why fans are married to Steph Curry. And I think of the young guys you mentioned and their strides that they've made, people are not blind to the fact, but they're more invested in Steph and him getting his 5th, this Warrior team getting his 5th, and also the ability, Steiny, or the possibility that something could pop off in the offseason. And before somebody gets or falls in love with one of these 3, I'm even including Kuminga, they could possibly be moved because of Steph and the Warriors looking to enhance or trying to cash in on the Steph window before he's retired. So to me, that's why we went at it a little bit, because I was saying, hey, I'm not blind at the growth of the youngsters, but man, this is about Steph playing at a high level still. And when you lose, that's how you I believe that's how a lot of fans are looking at it through that prism, as opposed to you to take the big view and step back. Like, you know what? Yeah, they lost, but the youngsters are doing well. But it's like, what about Steph?
What about him? They're helping Steph Curry. They're helping Steph. They're good enough to, like, this is the part that I just don't get. The young players have proven they're good enough to help the older guys win or be more competitive. The older guys can't be as competitive without the young guys. They can't play 35 minutes a game and win consistently. They're too old. And I look at this schedule coming up with game off, game off, game off, game off, game off, game off. And that's where I want to see these young guys continue to build something with this older group, because that's the way I look at, well, maybe you could win a play-in game and give somebody a tough first-round series. This is where I'm at. And people can, I don't think you can win a series from where they're going to be against the team they're going to have to play. But it's not going to be because of the young guys. I think the young guys are going to be the reason that they get there in the first place, or as big of a reason as they get there as not Steph Curry, but all the other guys.
Oh, okay. Like, I was just about to say, isn't that an insult to Steph? To me, you're here because 90-80% of him. And I'm saying the youngsters are helping, Steiny, but when you're talking about beating Denver or winning a series,
well, that's not what I'm talking about.
He needs all-star caliber type help.
They haven't beaten Denver in 2 years. They're 0-7 against Denver. That's not the young guys getting beat by Denver. That's the old guys getting swamped by a younger team that's more athletic and more skilled. Again, and we can get into it, but this team, to me, it has become crystal clear to me that these young guys are the best way to get the most out of this team. I'm not saying they should be playing 30 minutes a night, but what I'm saying is Draymond's got to play 30, and then Trace Jackson-Davis plays 18 to 22. I'm saying Podziemski's got to play enough to keep Klay Thompson's minutes in the high 20s. Chris Paul, can he help Steph play 30, 32 minutes? I just don't believe. Wiggins is another one. I just don't believe that the recipe for the Warriors
Saturday.
I do not believe that the recipe for the Warriors to make a run is to lean more heavily on the old guys. I think that is a recipe to fail at this point.